What comes to mind when you hear the words private jet? Polished runways glowing emerald at dawn, sleek fuselages cutting through quiet air, terminals where time seems to slow. For most people, it feels like a world defined by excess. But here's the uncomfortable question few ask. What does cheap actually mean in private aviation? Because cheap doesn't mean affordable in the everyday sense. A jet that sells for a few $1,000,000 can still burn through millions more just to keep it flying. Price is only the entry point. Value is the real story. In this video, we're not chasing fantasy numbers or flashy myths. We're breaking down the 5 least expensive private jets in the world, and more importantly, why they're priced that way. By the end, you won't just know which jets cost the least. You'll understand the private jet market isn't one single ladder. It's a landscape shaped by trade-offs. Prices shift based on age, technology, and intent. Newer jets command premiums because of modern avionics, digital cockpits, and manufacturer support. Older aircraft, even when structurally sound, fall sharply in value as systems age and upgrades become optional, not standard. Range and payload matter too. A jet built for short regional hops will always cost less than one designed to cross continents non-stop. Then there's operating reality. Fuel burn, maintenance cycles, parts availability, and crew requirements quietly influence what owners are willing to pay. Reputation plays its role as well. Aircraft from trusted manufacturers hold value longer, while niche or discontinued models depreciate faster. This creates a clear divide between entry-level light jets and larger mid-size or heavy jets built for distance and comfort. And here's the key idea to remember as we move forward. Cheapest never means useless, and higher price doesn't guarantee smarter ownership. The first jet on this list is a name many aviation enthusiasts already recognize: the Cessna Citation Mustang. It's a light jet that quietly redefined what entry-level private aviation could look like. Designed for efficiency, it typically seats 4 passengers comfortably, with a range just over 1,000 nautical miles. On the used market, examples can often be found between $2 and $3 million, which is remarkably low by private jet standards. This is a jet built for short, purposeful flights. Think regional business hops, same-day returns, and avoiding airline schedules entirely. Its operating costs are lower than larger jets, but they're far from trivial. Maintenance, insurance, and fuel still demand serious budgets, and compromises exist. The cabin is compact, baggage space is limited, and range requires thoughtful planning. Yet this is exactly why the Mustang earns its place here. For owners who value speed, independence, and simplicity over space and spectacle, it offers authentic private jet flying without stepping into the financial deep end. It's practical, proven, and unapologetically focused. For many, that balance defines its enduring appeal. The next jet on this list carries something newer aircraft can't buy: legacy. Models like the Learjet 35 became icons of private aviation long before glass cockpits and touchscreens defined the cockpit. Built for speed and reliability, these aging turbofans were once the symbol of executive travel, and many are still flying decades later. Today, their prices have fallen dramatically, often dipping well under $2 million. The reason isn't performance failure, it's time. Older avionics, analog systems, and increasing maintenance demands push values down, even when the airframes remain strong. Parts availability can be more complex, inspections more frequent, and upgrades optional but expensive. Ask pilots about jets like this, and the respect is still there. They're fast, stable, and surprisingly capable for their size. Ask owners, and you'll hear a more measured tone. Operating costs require discipline, but the reward is access to an aircraft with real pedigree. This is aspiration tempered by reality, iconic design, serious capability, and a price that reflects experience, not extravagance. It remains a reminder that history still matters in private aviation decisions. The third jet on this list often surprises people because it sits in the mid-size category while wearing a light jet price tag. Aircraft like the Hawker 700 series deliver something rare at this level: a genuinely comfortable cabin, respectable baggage space, and a range that makes longer regional flights feel effortless. You can stand up, stretch out, and actually work or rest without compromise. So why is it affordable? Age plays a role again, but design choices matter too. Older systems, higher fuel burn than modern equivalents, and maintenance programs that reward careful ownership all keep prices down. down. On the used market, examples can be found around $2 million, sometimes less, depending on condition and upgrades. For owners, the appeal is clear. You gain cabin comfort and performance that feel like a step up from entry-level jets, without stepping into heavy jet territory. But this balance comes with responsibility. Operating costs are real, planning matters, and efficiency isn't its strongest trait. Still, it quietly redefines value, and as we move toward the final two jets, the trade-offs become more interesting. Second on the list is a jet that feels out of place here, because it's still relatively modern and, in some cases, still in production. Aircraft like the Embraer Phenom 100 were designed with efficiency as the priority, not excess. Clean lines, smart systems, and a cockpit that feels contemporary without being overwhelming. On the used market, prices often hover between $3 and $4 million, making it one of the most accessible modern private jets available. Its affordability comes down to strategy, high production numbers, fleet support, and a clear focus on short to medium-range missions kept costs controlled. Pilots often praise its handling and intuitive avionics, while owners appreciate predictable maintenance and resale stability. This is not a jet built to impress on the ramp. It's built to perform quietly, consistently, and intelligently. You sacrifice cabin volume and long-range capability, but you gain reliability and simplicity. For those who want modern private aviation without financial strain, this jet makes a compelling argument. And with one final aircraft left, the definition of cheap becomes even more nuanced. The cheapest private jet in the world isn't a new release or a marketing headline. It's usually an aircraft from another era, something like an early Cessna Citation or similar light jet that time has quietly discounted. On the used market, prices can dip close to $1 million, sometimes even less, depending on condition and history. It's cheap for clear reasons: limited range, older engines, dated avionics, and cabins that reflect a different standard of comfort. Operating one demands patience, planning, and respect for maintenance schedules. This is not plug-and-play luxury, but here's what you gain. You gain real jet speed, pressurized flight above weather, and access to thousands of smaller airports airlines never touch. You gain independence. For experienced operators or collectors, this aircraft represents entry into private aviation at its most elemental level. Is it a smart buy? For most, probably not. Ownership only makes sense with deep technical support and realistic expectations. But as a proof of concept, it's unmatched. This jet exists as a reminder that private flight isn't defined by excess. Sometimes it's defined by access. Nothing else comes closer to the absolute bottom. By now, it's clear that purchase price tells only part of the story. Owning even the cheapest private jet introduces a second, far more demanding calculation. Maintenance comes first, with inspections, parts, and unexpected downtime shaping annual budgets. Fuel follows closely, and older jets often burn more than their modern counterparts. Then there's crew. Even owner pilots rely on training, recurrent checks, and insurance requirements that never disappear. Hangar space, especially at major airports, adds quiet monthly pressure, while insurance premiums reflect age, complexity, and risk. Upgrades matter too. Avionics updates, compliance mandates, and interior refreshes are optional only in theory. This is where buying and owning separate completely. The jet itself may be inexpensive, but the ecosystem around it is not. For some, that trade is worthwhile because freedom, speed, and flexibility justify the cost. For others, it's a sobering reality check. Cheap in private aviation is never an ending. It's the beginning of responsibility. And that truth defines who should admire these jets and who should actually own them. Over the last few minutes, we've traveled across the lowest rung of private aviation, from efficient light jets to aging icons and surprisingly capable mid-size aircraft. Each one earned its place for a different reason: simplicity, legacy, comfort, or modern efficiency. What this list really shows is that there is no single best cheap private jet. There is only the jet that aligns with how you fly, what you value, and how much responsibility you're willing to accept. For some, that means a modern, predictable aircraft. For others, it means an older machine with character and compromise. The smartest takeaway isn't a purchase decision, but perspective. Private aviation isn't about price tags alone. It's about access, control, and intention. So the question isn't which jet is the cheapest. It's which version of private flying makes sense for you today personally.